It's time for the Miller's Edge with four-time SEC champion and two-time national champion Christian Miller.
Once again with Christian Miller taking him down.
Here's college football playoff national champion Christian Miller on Tide 100.9 and 12:30 a.m. WTBC.
And welcome into this Wednesday edition of the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 12:30. WTBC, hope you guys are doing well. It is officially Alabama's turn on SEC Media Days 2026, which technically they've already gone. They've spoken at the podium. We've heard from head coach Kalen DeBoer, the three players they're representing, Bray Hubbard, Ryan Coleman-Williams, and Xavier Brown. So the good news is we've got plenty to dive into, to talk about, to react to, and that's exactly what we're going to do today on the show. So make sure you guys are sit back, relax, and ready to talk some Alabama football, because that will carry us all the way through the entirety of today's show. Now, I do want to get y'all's thoughts on this, because we could always listen to head coach Kalen DeBoer at the podium together. Now it's probably 20-something minutes long, so it's long, and we could probably skip through it a little bit. Or if you guys would prefer, if you guys already have listened to it, we can kind of just listen to certain parts of it and then discuss those specific parts. I'm cool to do whatever. If you guys want to do one or the other, let me know. I'm asking the chat, I guess. Radio listeners, if you want to send in the app message, let us know, because I'm willing to do either one for you guys. I've listened to as much as I can. Now, there's been so many different, interviews throughout the morning. I haven't heard every single one. So the other thing is, if there's anything that you guys have heard, because remember, not only do they speak on the podium, but they also make their way down Radio Row. They've talked to a whole bunch of different radio hosts, analysts, you name it, any type of media that is in attendance. So I'm sure there's plenty of clips and headlines and articles that maybe haven't necessarily crossed my desk just yet. So if you guys see something that you want to discuss, tag us in it on X. So if it's there's a tweet out there or a post on X, just tag us at the Miller's Edge. Definitely we'll take a look at that. We can play the clip. We can read it. We can respond to it. You guys know how that goes. And we would definitely do that as well. And if you have any questions coming out of Media Days, would love to take y'all's phone calls, 205-342-9904. Of course, we always like going to the phone lines and hear what you guys have to say. Again, there's going to be a lot to respond to because Alabama went this morning. So they're pretty much, I would say, done for the most part. They're probably getting ready to head on back, hop on that private plane and head on back to Tuscaloosa. So we'll, in the meantime, be discussing everything that we've heard. I've also had the chance to listen to Coach Saban, Robin Harper. They were talking on the desk at SEC Nation this morning, going in depth about Alabama football this 2026 season. Heard a lot of similar things, Reed, that we've been talking about here on the show, whether that was the defense, some of these philosophies. Just it's funny, man. Maybe it's showing its true colors. I get a lot of what I know from football from Coach Saban, because you'll hear a lot of stuff that I talk about he ends up talking about when he's up there on that desk. And, I guess I got my degree from the school of Nick Saban, so it makes plenty of sense. So we got plenty to talk about, and we'll do just that here on today's show. Reed, I know you've been busy working. How much have you gotten to listen to throughout the morning? Did you get to listen to pretty much everything from the podium? Because like I said, I know they've joined a whole bunch of different radio shows. I'm seeing articles and tweets from other different interviews. I'm trying to keep up with everything. I've been going down X this whole morning and bookmark. So we got plenty to talk about. What all have you been able to see and hear this morning?
Yeah, so the only thing that I've been able to hear is the entire podium. So I listened to it from front to start, but that's it. I have not seen anything from any other personal interviews, like you said, with any other radio media.
Okay, good deal. All right, well, we'll definitely dive into that. I know we got a couple of those points broken up from the podium. Again, you guys let me know what you guys want to do, whether you want to hear the full interview from head coach Kalen DeBoer at the podium, or you want us just to kind of spice it up and just discuss some of the main talking points. Let us know in the chat. That way, when we come back, we have a game plan on exactly what you guys would prefer to do here. I already got a few clips broken up, so we can definitely start there. And then go over some of these talking points that have come out. I'll be honest with you, Reed. I don't think I've seen or heard anything that necessarily was unexpected, I would say. We knew there was going to be questions about the offensive line, the running game, probably about the secondary, given you got two players from the secondary that are in attendance, the quarterback battle, kind of like we talked about yesterday. I feel like we kind of knew the main talking points that we would hear. So nothing really new, in my opinion, just kind of bringing these topics back up now that we're closer to training camp, which kicks off in less than 2 weeks, but also the fact that there's been some I guess opportunities to make some progress. Granted, you can only do so much during the summer. I'm not discrediting the summer program because I know how valuable that it always was for the teams that I've been a part of. But it's not like they're out there necessarily in pads and going through full padded practices. But there's still a lot of progress that can be made, and I understand people kind of want the latest regarding those updates. So it looks like you guys kind of want to listen to that full presser. Maybe we can maybe what we could do, Reed, is kind of listen to it and then kind of pause. I think that might be a good idea. It's kind of a good combination of both.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Kind of break down each individual question. And if there's one that we really don't feel like is necessary, we can skip it. I think it's a good combination. Maybe we can do that. I think it'll be good. So we'll probably start there and roll from there. Then try to get through as many of these bookmarks as possible that I have here on X. And then, of course, tag us in anything else that you guys have seen or heard that you want us to discuss that we might not have hit on. Before we hit this timeout, and just to segue real quick, just because I want to get this out the way, because we're going to go Alabama football throughout the remainder of the show. The whole LeBron situation, Reed, I know we briefly talked about it. I don't know if you caught this, but there was a very interesting, I guess, something that had come up yesterday that was very eye-opening. And what it was the Miami Heat, like the official Miami Heat, the NBA team, their official, I believe, YouTube account, which I understand how this works, right? We stream live on YouTube. Come hang out with us at the Miller's Edge on YouTube. You schedule videos, right? It's like every single day I schedule our live streams, right? It's something I have to do every day for our show. Well, they scheduled a live stream, this one for July 27th, 5 days from now. And it literally was titled LeBron James Introductory Press Conference. Now, this was quickly deleted, and they've since come out, and a spokesperson has mentioned that the link was mistakenly published while preparing for a possible LeBron James signing. Now, here's my thing. I've already been hearing some rumors about LeBron to Miami. Matter of fact, I don't know if you guys keep up with streamers and all that, but Neon, he's a very popular young streamer. He just did a lie detector test yesterday, and they asked him about LeBron to Miami because he lives down in Miami, I believe, or maybe I think he lives in Miami. Anyway, I know he has a lot of connections down there. He said that, yes, LeBron would be going to Miami, which I know you're like, well, how does he know? I just know he also mentioned a few weeks ago that someone very close to LeBron had spilled some details, and he knew where he was going. And the lie detector test said he was telling the truth. So could LeBron officially be going back to Miami? I think it's definitely possible, and we'll have to see. But you talk about the situation that he would be in. I mean, dude, get them a shooter or two. I'm just saying. I mean, that is a squad, man. I mean, you got Big Bam down there, Giannis now with the Heat. So LeBron, Giannis, Bam. I'm just saying, Reed. You get you a couple guys that can shoot. That might be a squad. What do you think about that? Are you buying the Heat's not necessarily excuse, but when they said, hey, it was an accident, we wanted to be prepared, which I'm sure people do that. Just like, for example, when you have big events, like I'm sure with the World Cup, I'm sure they printed a bunch of merchandise that said Argentina 2026 World Cup champs, and then also España 2026 World Cup champs. And then you're immediately ready to push that right when it happens. Just like every year with the Super Bowl, right? There's no way they just magically just snap their fingers and this merch is made. Because I even heard what they do is they ship the wrong merch to like other countries or places.
They do.
That are less fortunate. So do you feel like this could have been a situation like that? Like just the ultimate preparation saying, hey, we want to be ready when he makes that decision, just in case it's the Heat? Or do you think something's a little fishy right here?
No, I really do honestly feel like that is the case, Christian, that they just want to, with such a possible big outcome with LeBron potentially going back to Miami, I think they just want to have everything set in stone so that they can be ready right off the gate. Now, the whole Neon thing I do find quite interesting because, like you said, he does have a lot of connections down in that Miami Bay area, but This is just at least what I believe the situation is. I think he does have those connections, right? But let's just say someone told him, right, like, okay, it's going to be Miami, right? And then that makes Neon think, oh, I know for a fact it's going to be Miami. But what if it wasn't? But even when he goes on that lie detector test, because he
You
feels like
trust that
that he
person.
knows, yeah. So the whole trust thing means he has zero doubt, right? And that's why when he, like, the question was asked, he gave a true answer,
Yeah.
even though it might not be the right answer based upon the information he was given, the outcome was true.
And that's a very good point. And to be fair, those things aren't 100%, especially when these streamers do it. I mean, I can't mention all the questions that they were asking some of the dudes that were on the stream yesterday. Excuse me, but just know there was a few that they asked one of the guys that I think we all could agree that it's definitely not true. But for whatever reason, it said the guy was lying when he said these answers. Which, I mean, I guess I don't know the guy personally, but I'm like, okay, what they're asking is kind of crazy. That's just not. I'm not buying into that. So you just never know. But I just thought it was interesting. They both lined up. You had this incident, and you got him going on that lie detector test randomly on the same day. I don't know. So could we see a LeBron Heat reunion? I think it's definitely possible, and I think that team could be, man, that would be a tough team, man. Definitely be a tough team. I think it would be one to look out for sure. Anywhere LeBron goes. But what's crazy is even just pay attention to how they're talking about, hey, the schedule's kind of revolving around where LeBron goes. They're kind of waiting to find out his decision that way. It's just crazy, man. You talk about the star status of LeBron James. Even at the age of, 40, 41 years old, he'll probably be still playing at a high level, demanding the attention and everything that comes with it. It's really incredible, man. Very special player. In my opinion, best player. We can argue about that another time. We got Alabama football to talk about. On the other side, we'll hear from head coach Kalen DeBoer, SEC Media Days, right here on the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230, WTBC. All right, let's check in with the chat. Let's go ahead and see what we got in here. We got Yukenji in here, and let's go and throw these ads on. Yukenji, what's up? Good morning. Can't wait for the season to start. Arthur, what's up? Top of the morning. Jake, oh, whoops. Flag on the play. I got to throw you guys on the screen now, man. That's part of my new deal, man. I forgot. I got to show the chat love on the stream. Here we go. We got Arthur in here. What's up? What's up, Jake? Feeling good, man. Feeling good. Excited to have so much to talk about. It's muy caliente here in Noble, Oklahoma. You can say, hace mucho calor. That means it's very hot here. Yeah, you got to be careful saying using estar and caliente. Sometimes that can translate to something you don't want to end up saying. Technically, you can say está just say hace calor. Just say hace. Yeah, just say that. We'll get back on the Spanish lessons at some point. We'll definitely get back on that. We got Crystal in here. Good afternoon and Roll Tide. 45 days, so ready. We got Army in here. Good morning, Roll Tide. What's up, Army? We got Trevor, Roll Tide. More of the same, double talking. Trevor, man. Trevor's a tough critic. I tell you what, man. Trevor, let me ask you this, because I know you're a tough critic. And again, I respect it. I respect everybody's opinions. I just know Trevor, man, he's no nonsense when it comes to his fandom for Alabama. What would it take for you to, I guess, reach a point where you I don't want to make it seem like you're doing, I mean, you're entitled to do whatever you please, but to maybe kind of come off a little bit of, how do I word it? I don't want to make it seem like what you're doing is wrong, but I just know you're very, of course, critical. But what would it take? What would Coach DeBoer and this Alabama football team have to do? Like, what's the bare minimum that they need to do to earn that from you, for you to say, you know what, I'm gonna pull back some of this? Which, again, you're totally fine doing it here on this show. This is a free space. We welcome the sunshine pumpers. We welcome the doom and gloom. We welcome everybody. We welcome the fence riders, like probably myself, where you're just kind of in the middle. We welcome everybody. But I'm just curious. I'm curious for you, Trevor, specifically. Arthur says, if you caught Coach DeBoer's SEC Media Day address, I'm feeling he is leaning Austin Mack for the start. Yeah, we need to discuss that. If anybody has that specific timestamp or like specific clip, please tag me in it. That'll just save me some time. I know we're going to try to listen to it and go through it, but I know we're already at 11:23. I want to make sure we got plenty of time to discuss everything. Kyle says, good morning. What's up, Kyle? Trevor says KD's always been on Mac. It is needed to prove himself, scheme, his approach right. Has nothing to do with what's best. That's his culture. I mean, I don't know if I would say that. I just think when you talk about the quarterback position, of course you want the best player possible, but I know even for Coach Saban, Coach Saban, regardless of position, especially earlier on, he was very heavy on, can I trust you? Can I trust you to go out there and do your job, right? Because that's what's most important. You can be an all-conference player, but if you're out there consistently not knowing what to do, you're putting us at risk of giving up explosives or not having success or giving the other team opportunities, and that can be a huge problem, right? So that's not just Coach DeBoer. I think that's pretty much every head coach. Some might lean more into it than others, but Coach Saban used to do that a lot. He would, if it was between a young freshman that was very talented that still didn't really know the playbook or know their assignment and a senior that might not have been as talented but was more dependable and reliable, he typically preferred to go with that senior until that younger player was able to kind of make strides and they caught up from a learning perspective. So and welcome back into this Wednesday edition of the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. We're discussing Alabama's SEC Media Day appearance. Again, they took the podium early this morning, so we've got it all out the way, not out the way in a bad way, but out the way, meaning we can just pretty much pick and pull from anything we want to because it's all been done already this morning. So here's what I'm thinking, because I know a number of you guys had mentioned maybe just listening to the whole press conference. I'm sure some of you guys didn't get to catch everything. Maybe we'll start there. I think we can just throw it up here and kind of break it down as we go along. Now, I'll probably skip the opening remarks and just kind of jump straight into the questions. I know there's a few questions I really wanted to hit, but it sounds like not everybody had a chance to hear everything. So let's do that. We'll listen to it. We'll respond, listen to some more. We'll respond, and we'll go from there. So this was head coach Kalen DeBoer taking the podium this morning down in Tampa for SEC Media Days.
Experience, hard-hitting safety that can play in a lot of different ways, extremely versatile. Not only does he have his undergrad degree, but he will have his master's here in December. So proud of these three guys, proud of the leadership that they bring. They are very critical to our success this fall, as are many of the guys that I will talk about as we go through the day. But these three, I know are doing a great job representing us here today, so I appreciate them. When it comes to our team, just really excited about what this season is going to look like. A lot of new faces, and so there are some unknowns, but there's a lot of things that we know we can hang our hat on, things that we can build on. Greg mentioned some of just the successes that we had last year. 7-1 in the conference, making the conference championship, winning a playoff game. We obviously fell short of our goals when it comes to winning the conference championship, winning more games and competing for a national championship in the playoffs. But there are some steps that I felt we took. I think there's a toughness, there's a culture that exists. You don't win that many games in our conference without. And we want to continue to build. We don't take these things for granted because, as I mentioned, there's over 50 new players in this football program, guys who have maybe been a part of the league at other places, but a lot of guys who haven't. And so every year you start over. Every year you build that foundation. You take the experiences you've had, and I think those collectively together are the ones that you really look at. A year ago, I can think about standing up here and talking about how we needed to improve in penalties, and we went from bottom of the pack in the conference to right at the top, if not the top in the conference when it comes to penalty yardage per game. And the ability to be great in critical moments, a lot of close losses the year before, and finding ways to be great and at the end of the half, in the red zone, the end of the game, critical moments, 3rd and 4th downs. We wanted to get more pressure on the quarterback. And so we did a lot of those things last year. We need to make sure that we don't take them for granted. You achieve what you emphasize, and we got to make sure we continue to emphasize those areas that we want to continue to keep strengths for us as we work on the things that we want to improve. Just other improvement areas. I think we really look at it. We want to be able to run the football better. I think that will help our overall team. That will help overall when it comes to, protecting your quarterback, makes play calling easier. And so that's something, we've addressed and stressed within our team. Just, taking advantage of the skill sets we have on the defensive side, thinking about our secondary and all the guys that we return with the entire group. And then even some of the guys that are in the rotation returning as well. I think we added some pieces, not just in the offensive line, but the defensive line that can come in and really give us what we want from a physicality standpoint. Appreciate our coaching staff. We have a lot of continuity there. Defensive side returns everyone. We've made a few hires, some opportunities for guys that got opportunities to go be head coaches and coordinators at other places, bringing in guys like Richard Owens as tight ends coach, Adrian Clem and Derek Nix on the offensive side. They've done a great job gelling with the rest of our staff there and bringing the pieces together. So looking forward to this season. Really excited about this group. Whenever we have media days, I know that means the season is upon us, and these guys have been working extremely hard. Your season or your team is made in these summer months. We got to come together and have a great fall camp. There's a lot of execution and things that we need to refine that need to take place just through getting the reps that will come here in the month of August. So looking forward to a great season. I'm open for questions.
All right, so we'll take a pause right there, Reed, because I know we're due to hit a break, and I think it's a perfect point now. That was his opening address. I skipped the part where he was talking about each individual player. I think as Alabama fans, I think we know plenty about Bray Hubbard, Ryan Coleman-Williams, and Xavier Brown. But a couple of things to note about what he mentioned just there. The stressing of the running game needing to improve. He talked about all the new faces. I think he said like 50 new players on this Alabama football team. Did that sound right? I mean, that's a lot. I didn't realize we had that many new faces, but that definitely is a lot. I talked about, utilizing what they have, especially on the defensive side of things, and continuing building off of what they improved on last year. That's really important. I don't know if you guys remember, Slade used to join our show, which he's going to be back on the show a little bit more here shortly, I believe. But he always talked about that, right? Don't overlook the positives. You want to lean into what you do well. Just because you're so focused on improving the negatives, you can't forget about the things you do well, and you got to continue to do those things well. And that sounds like that is a point of emphasis for head coach Kalen DeBoer and staff, which he also mentioned the new members of his staff and the optimism that they have with those hires. That said, we're going to hit a timeout. We'll respond to that part when we come back, and we'll continue listening. We'll get to some of these questions that he was asked a little bit more in detail. We got plenty of clips that we'll bring up and discuss right here on the Miller's Edge as we continue to dive into SEC Media Days. Officially day number 3, Alabama has already spoken. So we're responding to it, we're listening to it, and we're reacting right here on the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230, WTBC.
Hey, this is Wyatt Fulton from Tide 100.
All right, good deal. Remember, if you guys are just tuning in, man, if you have any specific questions from Media Days, anything you heard, anything you read, and you want us to discuss it, you want to bring it up, drop it in the chat. You can always call in 205-342-9904, and we'll talk about it. But I got plenty of stuff that we're going to dive into. But I know a lot of people didn't get a chance really to hear Coach DeBoer speak, so we're going to listen to this, kind of break it down piece by piece and go from there. But definitely want to get to a couple things. I know Coach Saban had a couple comments that I want to discuss and break down, him and Roman Harper. I know we've heard from – I forgot. Brandon's on here early today. Brandon wanted to jump in the conversation. Hold on, there it is. Brandon, here, let me throw you on the screen. Let me see. All right, let me throw you down here. What's up, dog?
Bro, I just realized it's not Thursday.
No, you're good. No, you're good.
I'm good, man. I was like, hold on.
No, you're good.
It's Wednesday.
No, you're good. If you want to chime in, I'll gladly let you comment on it. Have you had a chance to listen to some of these clips from SEC?
I did.
Today? Hell yeah. Yeah, stay on here. I'll get your thoughts on it.
Okay.
I know we're going to try to listen to it. We'll just jump back and forth, but I really want to, now that you're on here, we can just kind of talk about specific things, then maybe go back to the interview at some point. But I know I wanted to talk a little bit about I know Coach Saban and Roman were talking about defensively, something I've been talking about, playing a little bit more man coverage, but then also seeing the direction we're going with where recruiting. I mean, recruiting is such length. I'm kind of like, I feel like that limits you a little bit. I talked about that with Clint yesterday. So that will be interesting seeing the direction of the secondary after this year. Because really everybody they're recruiting is like 6'3" and up, and I just feel like they're very zone, I guess based type players that they're recruiting. Trying to think of a couple other things. I know Roman was asking about the practice schedule, but I mean we can get into that later.
Yeah.
I know Coach talked about the offensive line. He got asked about the freshmen. He specifically name dropped Crowell and Cedarian Morgan. So yeah, I'll be honest with you. I mean, I don't think there was anything that really like caught me by surprise. I feel like it's kind of all the same talking points that we've been discussing, that he's been discussing throughout the offseason. Was there anything that grabbed your attention that you want to discuss when we come back?
Yeah, I would say probably the defensive philosophy. And so in my personal opinion, I thought Seattle Seahawks are literally what the structure and what they're building, length. Right. Richard Sherman, Byron Maxwell. So you're going strength and length on your exterior players because, again, size disrupts passing flows and passing lanes. So I'm one of those folks that I think you can win without just going straight man. And I think zone can be there, but having more of a mix because I think Xavier is fully capable of just playing someone straight up. I would let him do that. And I think that they will make that concession because he's proven he can do that. And I think him flowing would be, in my opinion, the best way to show that. But they feel like they have people that are completely capable of playing both sides. So they're like, why would we switch? You stay to the left, I stay to the right. Field and boundary it's not necessary all the time, but I feel like our team showed that we can actually have field and boundary in some capacity, but you really just have the guy that's the left corner, right corner, pretty much how Saban used to do it when he had Kool-Aid and he had Terrion. He's like, you're left, I'm right. That's it.
Yeah, and I get like the reference to the Seahawks, Legion of Boom, like I get it. And they were arguably one of the greatest secondaries in NFL history. Don't get me wrong. I just feel like you're limiting yourself if you're really just leaning that much into a certain, body type, a certain type of football player. We'll discuss this when we come back. That's a good conversation. And welcome back into this Wednesday edition of the Miller's Edge. Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. We're now joined by Brandon Clear. A little bit early. We got Brandon Clear on here, and we're discussing some of the main talking points that we've heard from SEC media days from Alabama. Again, they've already hit the podium, coaches, players, everybody's spoken. So we got plenty to discuss and break down. And me and Brandon were just chatting during the break. One thing that had come up, Nick Saban was on the panel, and he was alongside of Roman Harper, former Alabama defensive back, played with the Panthers and the Saints, great career in the NFL, now works for ESPN, good friend of ours here on the show. But they were discussing something, Brandon, that they feel like could be added or thrown in to the mix with this Alabama defense to make it even better. They had a lot of high praise for the defense. Clearly, you look at the numbers, which my dad would be really mad if I said that here. He hates stats and numbers. But they've been very productive as a unit, right? Top 15, top 20 type unit over the last two seasons since Kane Womack has taken over. So they've done a good job. But Coach Saban said, one thing I feel like they could add a little bit more of that would make them even better would be playing a little bit more man coverage. Ironically, that's something that I've talked about on the show multiple times over the last couple of years, but even when we had the film guy on here in the offseason, that was one thing that I mentioned. The reason I brought it up was, watching that Oklahoma game in the playoffs, right? Not the first one, but the second one. You saw the first half, we ran a lot of zone coverage. And me and my dad used to get into the whole debate, right? Zone versus being more balanced, right? Because no one just does one or the other. I want to be clear. It's not like, hey, we're a zone-based defense. We only play zone coverage. Hey, we like to play man. We're only playing man. It's just kind of your bread and butter, what you lean into, right? Zone versus gap scheme in the running game, very similar type of deal. That said, I've always made the point, when you just play just so much zone coverage, really what happens, and this is exactly what Coach Saban said, you'll see that good quarterbacks, number one, when they have enough time to throw the football, if you're getting consistent pressure on that, that's always going to help out. But if you're not getting consistent pass rush, which has been a little bit of an issue for Alabama the last couple of years, those quarterbacks have a lot of time to sit back there. The receivers, as you know, you play the position, y'all can start kind of adjusting routes or kind of you know what I mean? Like moving around a little bit, finding some of those pockets in those zones, and teams can really pick you apart. And so Coach Saban was just saying he believes they should probably throw in a little bit more man coverage. I've been bringing it up. If you watch that playoff game with Oklahoma, the first half they ran so much zone. We went down like 17-0 very quick. Oklahoma had a lot of success. John Mateer had a lot of success in that first half. The second half, when defense really stepped up and things changed a whole bunch, number one, we got a lot more pressure on the quarterback. But two, we play a lot more man coverage. And to me, I just think, Coach Saban's always said this. If you got better football players, you should play man coverage, right? It allows you to get more pressure up front. You can do more up front. And if you got better players than they have on the other side of the football, why not just let them go out there and do their thing? I know you were mentioning the Legion of Boom and kind of maybe how they're trying to build around it. I just think it comes down to balance. Year one, Coach Womack, we saw a lot more man coverage than we were expecting, believe it or not. All we heard about in the offseason was, hey, Kane Womack coming from South Alabama, he loves this, cover three zone match, not zone match, excuse me, just zone defense, eyes on the quarterback, vision-based coverage. And we ended up seeing a lot of man coverage that first year. Now, they had a little bit more of, the skill set to do it then. Last year, it seemed like they leaned into really what they wanted to do, and that was a lot of zone. Now, I think they probably should try to even it out some. It sounded like you're a little bit more on board with the way they played their zone coverage. And I know you played receiver, but you're going against those guys. I mean, from your experience playing against different defenses, I mean, what do you make of that? Because for me, I would think you guys wouldn't want to play a team that plays a lot more press man, that might have these physical corners that aren't trying to let you guys off the line. I feel like you would prefer some more zone because y'all can do a little bit more. You know what I mean? You got a little bit more space to work with. What do you think? Is it the opposite?
I preferred man.
Really?
No, because it's just mano a mano. I don't have to really necessarily read the defense. I know what I'm seeing on the back half with the safeties. It's just me and the corner. So as a receiver, that's less things you have to worry about. With zone, you have to be able to adjust, sight adjust. Mm-hmm. So when I understand what Coach Saban's mind is it's like this. So it's like he's like NFL mind within college. College quarterbacks, in my opinion, now are not as developed because they're not expected to read the field. What Ty Simpson was doing was at the NFL level because he knew coverage. I would be pressed to find a quarterback outside of Ty Simpson in the past 5 years that truly knows how to run a progression offense. They don't know how to do it. So in my opinion, the zone does help create a picture where it's kind of, again, athletic quarterbacks can beat you when it's man, right? Because they can just, if everybody's getting run off, then I know I have lanes. So right. The zone actually limits athletic quarterbacks in some instances. And like you said, maybe you got a nickel and dime down the field, but you're not going to get any big plays. So Womack in his first year, he was giving up a ton of big plays, if you don't recall. The second year, he limited those, even though they were in some instances, but it was more along the lines of the player was at the wrong place at the wrong time or taking the wrong pursuit angles. And it wasn't necessarily scheme-specific issue. Now, I do believe you need to change up the picture. And in order to do that, you have to trust that your DBs are able to play man coverage. So then you maybe can send more blitzes or you can maybe try to get more pressure on the quarterback. So that is true. But with this change of going athletic quarterbacks, you have to be able to account that this player is looking to run. They're not always looking to read. So if you know that, you have to be able to make sure that I want this person to feel uncomfortable, and uncomfortable for them is going through their progression. 1, 2, 3. John Mateer was terrible at going through progressions, and he was always notorious for what? Running right or left and drifting on his throws. And he would create another window because he didn't know how to stay in the pocket and read his progressions and click 1, 2, 3. He didn't know how to do that. And for all the warts that he had, the quarterback that was at Miami this last year that played at Georgia, I can't think of his name.
Carson Beck,
he knows how to read defenses. But he came from a system where he was expected to read a defense. But Kirby Smart is more a quick game, screens, not necessarily getting the ball down the field because quite frankly, his offensive line didn't do a great job protecting the quarterback and to create enough space and time for him to go through his progressions. As bad as Alabama's offensive line was last year, Ty Simpson still had his instances where he would go through his progression. That's a top level tier. Instead, now the quarterbacks look to the sideline and they're expecting the OC or the head coach to make judgment calls based off what they're seeing. So if the pitcher changes, They have to be able to read on the fly, and a lot of them can't do that. So then they go straight, I need to run. And so you are correct that it is better to be able to have dudes that can just play man, because you can just create more pressure on the quarterback. But you also have to note that college quarterbacks, most of them are not prepared. Like a Tennessee, they don't have a progression offense. They have a spread you out, and it's very simplistic, and which is why those quarterbacks that play in Tennessee's offense and the receivers that play in Tennessee's offense struggle, because they don't know how to run an offense where you have to side adjust, where you have to be able to read different type of zone coverages and know exactly where your route may change, and you and the quarterback on the same play. So all that to say, if as a receiver, I prefer to see man-to-man, because all I got to do is beat the dude in front of me, which is not always easy. If you got if you got a Xavier Brown in front of you, if you got a Dijon Lee in front of you, it's not easy. You're right. But from a quarterback's perspective, if you feel like you got a dude, hey, it's 50-50 shot. Let's see what happens. Right. So LSU is going to – I'm telling you, you're going to see LSU is going to show that. They're going to have some dudes this year. And they have size. But when you remember when Dijon Lee was matched up against that tight end, he was shutting them down. So when we play them again, I would hope they would go man-to-man coverage. Say, Dijon, you're on number 14. Xavier, whoever the second best, we'll stay to the side. But we're going to have Dijon matching this guy because of his size. That's what I would do. So in those instances, you do have the opportunity to be able to have a Xavier or Dijon that could potentially go man. I think Xavier is better suited to go man in my opinion, because it's just his skill set. Dijon against a bigger receiver would be perfect, because he will be able to get physical with him. And I would love to see it. I agree. I don't like the bail technique all the time, because I feel
they play off so much. That's my thing. Like, I would like to see now, and I think he's got good hip fluidity and good footwork for a taller corner, but we don't really get to see it a whole bunch because they play him in off, man. So like when they do play man, I don't recall seeing him a whole bunch in press. Honestly, I see Xavier work press technique. I don't really see Dijon Lee work press technique. And I mean, these are some numbers. It's from Mike Rodak. He had put this up here, given this conversation that Coach Saban and Roman Harper were having this morning. Alabama last season, they were 106th in opposing completion percentage allowed last year. And this was when quarterbacks threw 20-plus yards in the air. 118th in passing efficiency rating allowed, 96 in yards per attempt, and then 6 touchdowns allowed, 0 interceptions. So my thing is, I think they're very effective with utilizing zone, especially with the skill set of players that they have in that secondary. They do a nice job, and I showed on that cut up, right? I did a breakdown on the secondary guys. You see a lot of clips with Dijon Lee working. He's in a third player, right? And you're just seeing the ground that he can cover, right? I mean, he's a big, long body. He can go up and high point the football. There's that clip of him doing it with the LSU tight end who's 6'7". I love all that. I just think when you're able to mix some of that man in there, it just adds another wrinkle. And I want to be clear. I mean, Coach Saban was very complimentary of the defense. He just was adding, if you could add some more of that, I think it would make them even better. And I agree 100%, because I just go back to the Oklahoma game, the difference from the first half to the second half. I think that's my thing. Like, it's just, it seems like we're always so much of one or the other.
You're right.
I think if they could just establish a little bit more just balance and consistency, I think that would help everything out, and not feel like, oh, we have to do this or we have to do that. Run a little bit here, run a little bit there, depending on who you're game planning against. I think all those factors matter, but it does matter who you have. And Xavier Brown, and I told this to Clint, like at some point I'm like, all right, I get the 6'3" corner thing, looks great on paper, but to give me Xavier Brown. Yeah. Give me a 6'2", 6'1.5" corner. That's still really good length. But a dude, he can play press, he can play off, he can play zone, he's physical, he's all around. You know what I mean? I'll sprinkle in a couple 6'3" guys, but I don't want a cornerback room that's full of 6'3" corners, especially if we're just having them play off the whole time. I don't want that. You know what I mean? Like, Legion of Boom sounds good. It's hard to mimic some of the greats, right? The great teams. Hopefully that's probably the goal, but I don't know if it's something that you really want to just pin and say, hey, we're going to be this. That's hard to recreate, and I just feel like having more balance would be a little more beneficial. We got to hit this timeout. Brandon, if you have time, you're welcome to hang out here. I know
y'all hang out for a little bit more.
All right, sounds good. Yeah. So we'll hit this timeout. We come back. We'll keep talking SEC Media Days 2026 with Brandon Clear right here on the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC.
The winnings are coming.
Good deal, man. No, really good conversation. That's interesting to hear your thought process on that, though. Preferring it makes sense though. You got man.
I mean, they were
If you're
going to move me
confident
to
you
corner.
could beat.
I was going to be playing corner before I left Clemson.
Oh, really?
That's why I left. Yeah, bro. I was.
Hey, look, Diggs did it. You know,
did.
Diggs came to Alabama as a receiver. He was a good receiver.
He was.
And they flipped him over. Yeah, they flipped him over to corner. Ended up being, I think he was all pro one year in the league.
He
I think
was.
He led the league in,
yeah, I think he had 2.
Who else? We had somebody else make the trans. Who was it? Wait, Devontae Smith played some defense now.
He did, but no.
Yeah, granted, that's good thing he stayed at receiver. That's a little bit different on that one. I think he might have had somebody else.
Yeah, it's just again. So it's so funny. So I was going to be moving. It was right around the time. So Richard Sherman was one of my mentors, man, because I almost went to Stanford, and he was a really good receiver. That's what everybody like. He was a really good receiver, and they moved him to defensive back his junior year. And so coming out, I think he ran a 4.5 at the combine, so that kind of hurt him. And I think he was a later round pick, but he had a lot of productivity because he had ball skills because he was a receiver. And that was one of the challenges I had. I was just like, I haven't played defense since my junior year of high school. It's way different. And, I gave it a shot for a spring, man. I was doing really well. I just was like, I want to play receiver. So that's what made me transfer over to Illinois. But Coach Sweeney was seeing the bigger picture, say, hey, man, receivers are getting bigger. You can just line up, be an athlete, and just body somebody. Like, we'll teach you the skill set and all that. Because I knew, you play defense, you don't lose at all, but if you don't use it, different going in the back pedal.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was one of the things that I saw. So for me, I do agree with you. I was on your mindset saying the Legion of Boom is rare. Average cornerbacks that are on that sweet spot is 6 foot to 6'1".
Yep.
So that's my whole mentality is that. So I agree with you. Like 6'3" to me was always a receiver that couldn't catch. You that size, wrong. You can't catch. But then I say that. But again, Diggs was actually a decent receiver, so it's not like he couldn't catch. He could. Yeah.
He was in that sweet spot though. He was like he's like 6'1"ish, 6'2"ish. I feel like Correct. Diggs was. Like I said, I know everybody's different. Everybody's philosophy is different. And Coach, I think, was just saying if they added a little bit more of that, and I just agree that sometimes when I watch us on defense, as good as we've been, there's just little things that we could do to be even better. And I know Coach sees that, and I think that's kind of what he's hinting at because it's clear. Like, I mean, like for us to have like the issues we had in year one, we still were like a top 20-ish or whatever it was that year. But there were so many there's so many little things that they could have done to be even better, right? And I think that's, as a coach, you're always looking for ways to get better. And I think for him, that's how he views it. It's like, man, they've done this, but hey, if they threw in some more man coverage, play a little bit more press here, and really mix it up for some of these offenses, I think it would go a long way. And then again, they play man. It's not they never play it. I mean, I did a breakdown. They play some man, but just some of the things they do are just different. Like when I was doing the breakdown, they ran it was interesting, man. It was a 6-man. It was a blitz, right? They brought 6, but which typically you think like it, but the way they played on the back end, it felt like it was like a fire zone, which is 3 underneath, 3 deep.
Yep.
But it was a more like a 3 deep, 2 underneath.
Yeah.
And I was like, so I have to talk with them and know a little bit more on kind of what they're doing. Yeah. But some of the things they do are just a little bit different, different philosophies. But sometimes I'm just like,
it's hard to watch, man. I'm right there with you. I'm like, especially I don't want to see off when it's 3rd and 5.
We play off. Our soft coverage, like that's another thing. Like, we play so soft in certain moments where just like I don't understand why you would. That doesn't make sense to me. You know what I mean? Like,
I understand the philosophy in their mind saying, "Hey, we can better manage a quick game if it is zone."
Right.
But you limit your
short break on it. Yeah.
Yeah. I would rather have it just be press across the board. And again, if someone can beat one of your corners on a slant route on the inside, then the guy is a dog. If you got a dog, they can't get a slant route off because my hands are on you. I got 5 yards.
Well, I'm just like, we got some of the best secondary players in the country. Like, we should be confident and say, hey, man, line it up, run it like that. I feel like you should be able to do that.
But Chris, I'm telling you that it's a mentality. It's not about the outside. They're thinking about the quarterback. Mm-hmm. When you play press man, and you have an athletic quarterback, we're in a different time that quarterback is now the
I got a solution. I got a solution. Take Xavier Griffin and put him in there as a spy.
Ooh.
Right? People are talking about cheetah packages and whatnot. Yeah,
Good
you
call.
have Yanze, you have whoever else you feel comfortable with. You put Tompkins in a 3 technique, and you have as a stand-up, what we call the buck, you put Xavier Griffin, have him as a spy. And you can also, again, there's different types of man. You got split safety coverage, man,
right.
too high. And you still play man coverage, right? At cover 5. So I mean, like that. I get what you're saying. I just think that they can do a little, or even how we played zone match, like cover 3, we would play Rip Liz. So if it's 2x2 and I'm on this tight end and I get a seam, he's running vertical down the seam. I don't have a fast 3. That turns into man. I am in trail take. I'm covering him down the field, down the seam because I don't have a fast 3. If I get a fast 3, it turns into true man coverage. I go to a buzz drop.
That's
if
true.
not, I'm playing man coverage on him. So like. That's why I've always been so high on Coach Saban's system because it was the perfect blend of all that within the calls themselves. Correct. We literally be playing zone and man within one call, or just like the NFL does now. You see a lot of split field coverage where they're playing man into the boundary, or they're playing man to the field, and then they've got zone on the other side.
Yep.
I just think once you add more complexities to your defense like that, it opens up so many more possibilities for you to defend. And I think to me, sometimes it's like we're a little vanilla. Like, I feel like, especially coming from what I come from the school of like the hardest defense there was. And sometimes when I watch what we're doing, it feels kind of like, all right, man, we can put a little bit more on these kids' plates. Like come on, man, like, they get figured out. And welcome back into this Wednesday edition. Real quick, we got a couple minutes, and we're joined by Brandon Clear. We're talking some good old football talk. Brandon played receiver over at Clemson, man, one of our favorite programs here. Of course, we love Clemson. That's clearly sarcasm. Brandon, real quick, I gotta ask you about the quarterback situation because this was brought up today, and of course, people are going to talk about the quarterback battle. But one thing that people have been noting was, again, with so much talk about Keelan Russell and the performance he had during A-Day, which I get it, right? It was very impressive. The dude, he stole the show. We later learned Austin Mack was a little hurt at the time, but still had a good spring, had a productive spring. That said, Kalen DeBoer and his answers when he was questioned about these two, he always seemed to kind of, I wouldn't say he's like defending Austin Mack, but he makes it a point of his to kind of bring him back in the conversation if it feels like he's getting lost a little bit. My question to you is, do you feel like that's intentional to the point where, like, maybe that's if you read in between the lines, I'm not saying he's leaning Austin Mack necessarily. I think it's still split, clearly. But does it feel kind of like, hey, man, people need to slow down with writing him off? Because if you just listen to Coach DeBoer, every time he talks about the young man, it's kind of like, hey, let's bring him back in the conversation. What do you take of that?
Yeah, I think that he feels as though it has to be a true competition. And so folks have already anointed Keelan as the next guy up. They pretty much did a very similar approach when Ty Simpson was there. They was like, oh, Ty Simpson, And they wanted when Keelan was there too, right? They're like, oh, but you got these guys that are more toolsy. And he was like, hey, I would not sleep on Ty Simpson. So he had almost kind of keep bringing it back around. Going into the summer, it's open competition. And I don't think they know. So he is intentionally doing that to make sure that his player knows that he has his back in Austin Mack, and then also put the word out for his team saying, hey, this is a competition. We're going to support it. We know that some guys may be leaning towards the other. Ryan Coleman-Williams did a fantastic job answering that question. And, he really made sure that he gave equal praise and love to both players and said, hey, iron sharpens iron. Whoever ultimately succeeds in leading our team, we're going to get behind them. But that doesn't mean we're putting aside all the other great quarterbacks that are in that room. We just know it's going to be a next man up mentality. We'll always just make sure that they know that we support them. We believe in them. And so he was doing that which is great. Because this is going to be the talk for the rest of the time. And even in summer, every scrimmage is going to be scrutinized. So if I'm Mac, he has the pressure on him. Keelan doesn't really, ironically. Mac has to prove that I am the guy and I have every right to be able to own this, because as soon as he throws his first pick, as soon as he has his first couple of bad plays, those, the fans at Alabama, man, the patience is not there. And they can really have a guy shrivel up very quickly. And then Keelan comes in, and that might just be all she wrote. So, Jalen dealt with something like this with Tua the whole season. Everyone with two eyes can see Tua was better. Like, if we're just being objectively truthful, it's like he's better. but Nick Saban felt a gratitude towards how much the guy was winning, how much he was pulling out. He had to stick with him. So, this is going to be a very similar type of approach going into this year, just knowing that Mac has the tools. He can be a starter. Don't sell him short.
And I agree with what you're saying. I also feel like, you look at Austin Mack, he came in early at Washington as a young player. He followed the staff here to Alabama. I'm not saying there's some like allegiance there or they feel like they owe him anything, but I think there's a lot of comfortability there. They know the young man extremely well. And I think the last thing they want to do is write him off before he's truly given a fair opportunity. I think that's kind of what we're hearing from head coach Kalen Boyd. That don't mean he's necessarily going to be the guy, but I also think they're going to give him every opportunity possible to prove himself. And it's going to be on Keelan Russell to take that job from him, given that he's the older player, quote unquote. I don't know if I'd call him more experienced, but you get it. He's technically the vet here in this situation. And also our coach DeBoer said if he could have a choice made now, preferably that would be his decision. That way you can just get that guy as many reps as possible. So I don't think it's like this holdout thing he's trying to do intentionally. I think once he knows, the sooner the better. Those are in his words. And hopefully we'll get to see some good competition going on. And if, I guess less than 2 weeks, training camp will kick off. And best believe I'm going to be paying attention to that one. I know we didn't talk. We left it a little bit on the back burner during the spring because we have plenty of time. Is fall camp coming up? Oh, we're going to talk about that quarterback battle. It's going to get nauseated probably. Brandon, I appreciate you jumping on here, man. Always good conversation.
I want to leave you with one thing. So go back and watch Ty Simpson on Gruden QB camp.
Mm-hmm.
Listen to how he has to call out the plays in that huddle.
Oh, yeah, I heard. Yeah, it definitely was. It was like how we talk about Saban's defense. This offense is not for for beginners. No.
You can sound like Chris Sims in a minute. You remember Chris Sims in Tampa Bay? He was like, really low. So, look, everyone's talking about Keelan's got to be able to call out those plays. I'm not saying he can do it, but Mac has been in this system for 4 years. So he should be able to call out the plays with ease.
Yeah.
That is actually another factor that goes into it. You got to have credibility going into the huddle. And if you sound like you don't know what you're talking about or it's too much, that's part of the decision making the coach has got to make. So just keep that in mind, everyone. I appreciate you, Miller's Edge family. I guess I'll see you tomorrow.
Jump back on tomorrow.
I'll jump on tomorrow, bro. My bad.
Yeah, let's do it. No, you're good. I'd love to have you on here, brother. We'll see.
Absolutely. Have a good one, bro.
You too, man. Good deal. I got Brandon Clear coming and chopping up some SEC Media Day talk. When we come back from this top hour break, we keep it going. We keep going back to some clips from the interviews and the press conferences, all that coming up right here on the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230, WTBC.
WTBC.
All right, good deal, man. Always enjoy Brandon on here. We always have some good old football conversations, man. It's fun. So we're in for a treat this week. We'll have him back on next week too. Let me try to catch up on the chat. If you guys have any questions from SEC Media Days or anything, man, make sure you guys start dropping them. We're going to you guys and all these clips for the rest of the show. Lisa Rawls says Brandon is my favorite guest on this show. He's legit, knows his stuff. He and Christian have very interesting discussions. Thank you so much. Yeah, I love having Brandon on here, man. We get to really dive into some good old X's O's talks. And with him being an offensive guy, I like going to him and asking his opinion on stuff, just like we just talked about with even though we were talking defense, right? He's a former receiver. He was going against corners. So I wanted to pick his brain. What did you prefer, man, zone? And his answer was definitely an interesting one. So Melissa's in here. Roll Tide, everybody. Great guest. Roll Tide. Thank you so much. Yeah, Brandon's awesome, man. He's the man. We love Brandon over here. Great dude. Dwight said Brandon just wanted to show his face. He knew it wasn't Thursday. Nah, man, days get mixed up. Nah, I mean, hell, he's welcome to join as much as possible, man. I like getting him on here. Trevor said, I'll say it for you. Staff is all about allegiance. First, money grab. I don't think it's necessarily that, Trevor. I don't think it's allegiance. I think it's kind of like what we talked about earlier. As a coach, you have to be able to trust your players, right? You have to trust that they can go out there and execute at a high level, go out there and know and do their assignment. I mean, again, Coach Saban was like that. I mean, even so to the point where people used to get mad sometimes where he would play upperclassmen over some of the young, talented new freshmen. But he knew, hey, this guy can be, a phenomenal player. We know he's going to be a very good football player, but he might not just be there yet. And Roman or somebody was talking about this too. When you talk about quarterback, not only do you have to know and understand your own system, but the next step is you have to know and understand defenses, right? So That's a lot. Just like Brandon was talking about, listening to Ty Simpson. Like, I know for a fact this offensive system is not easy. There's a lot to it. Pre-snap, post-snap, they put a lot on the quarterback's plate, like a lot. More so than a lot of other offenses. So whoever's going to be the quarterback, they have to be able to handle all of those things. Dig Doug, that's a new name. I don't think we've seen him in here much. Maybe welcome in. No pass rush is the real problem. That definitely's got to be better. I'll be the first one to tell you. And listen. They've got a couple new pieces in there. See what those guys can come up with. I mean, really, Jan Pierre, you know what you're getting out of that guy, and you're excited about what you're getting out of him. I think if we can just have somebody step up complimentary, whether that's getting a little bit more from Justin Hill in that area. Justin Hill is, probably their best edge defender in terms of stopping the run. Can he produce a little bit more in his pass rush? Can a young guy like Xavier Griffin step up and be a little bit of an X factor, no pun intended? How about Zulu? Can Zulu provide some presence off the edge? I think he'll definitely give you some good SEC quality snaps, but can he really be a threat off the edge? That's my biggest question. If he can end up being that type of player in terms of generate pass rush, I think he'll end up being a much bigger addition than initially anticipated, but we'll have to see. And welcome back into this Wednesday edition of the Miller's Edge. Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. We're breaking down SEC Media Days. Alabama was up today, and we heard from them this morning. So now we're listening to it, responding to it, talking about it, breaking it down. And we're going to keep on rolling. Hour number 2 officially underway. So let's jump back into Kalen DeBoer at the podium. I know there's some good questions that he was asked. We just were joined by Brandon Clear. Really good conversation there. But now let's go back to head coach Kalen DeBoer and listen to some of these questions that he answered this morning at SEC Media Days, day number 3.
Thank you, Coach. If you have a question, Tommy, Jalen, or Kylie will raise it. Please give your name and affiliation when you ask your question. We're going to start. Tommy, let's start right here, middle aisle, second row.
Hey, Coach. EG from Yale, Alabama. You mentioned that continuity on your staff. How does that set you up for success this season from a coordinating perspective and beyond the quarterback battle? What have you found yourself spending the most time on this offseason?
Yeah, I think just familiarity is so important. Just being around here this morning and doing different interviews, year 3 versus years 2, but especially versus year 1. And any time you have more familiarity, you understand who's around you, you understand the areas that are strengths, you understand the areas that are weaknesses. And so that continuity on our coaching staff is critical. It trickles down. You're not just coaching the coaches, but really what matters is what the players learn and what the players know. And so our coaching staff being on the same page, everyone gelling at the leadership level at the coaching staff will certainly trickle down and lead to that feeling of confidence, trust, and belief that you need amongst your players, which is the most important.
Okay, we're going to stay on this front section, front row.
Nick Kelly, AL.com. Kalen, you've got a lot of new faces on the offensive line. Did you expect that change to lead to improvement from that group?
We lost some good players that got obviously first-round draft picks, and like Caden Proctor, Parker Brailsford, some good players, some great players, that we're certainly going to miss. But I am excited about the guys that either return, Michael Carroll, who took a lot of snaps for us. Will Sanders has taken a lot of snaps for us. There's some guys that are within our program, like a Jackson Lloyd. We brought in some players that have been at other places, that have been on the football field, in the conference, outside the conference. What I appreciate about the guys who have come in, I guess really the whole unit as a whole, is how open they've been to just being coached, being taught, wanting to come together, feeding off of the energy or the talk around, it being an area that needs to be improved. But just focusing on really what they can control and not making it more than what it needs to be, but also understanding the urgency that needs to happen to be an elite group. I think, last year we had a number of guys that were in the mix, in the rotation. I think a lot of it's always there's a piece to it where we were trying to find the right combinations, but there was also a lot of times where it was out of necessity, injuries and other, where we needed to make those changes. And hopefully we can find a group here in fall camp that really gels well together, is the best unit as a whole. When communication is made, it's understood and it's communicated at a high level, to where everyone's on the same page. We go out there and do their jobs. I think there's the physical tools across the board in our football team, but your question regarding offensive line, those physical tools are there. We have a younger group, but again, I think that leads to the eagerness that these guys have and the willingness to be coached, to be pushed, and that humility that they have, I think can certainly be seen in the work that they've been put in.
All right, so we'll pause there to respond to that one regarding the offensive line. Reed, he talked about some of those new faces. Obviously, they lost a number of players: Caden Proctor, Brailsford, Vandemar, Dewberry. I mean, there's a whole bunch of guys that played significant snaps last season that are now gone. But he talked about some of that youth, which we know with that comes. There's going to be a lot of development that needs to take place, and in a short period of time, right? Some of these guys were just signed via the portal. Some guys just got here as early enrollees. So you're talking about from the spring window on to training camp. I mean, you're talking about a lot that needs to happen. I heard him even mention, I think elsewhere, that, they're excited about some of these new faces that they have, but they definitely have a ways to go, which we know fall camp is going to be that period where they really try to hit the ground running and do what he's talking about, gel and mesh. But a few things that he mentioned that I wanted to hit on right there, Reed, we got to answer kind of in terms of the musical chairs that we saw last year. I think most of the time we just assume that, hey, it's probably because they can't figure out the 5 best offensive linemen, which was very puzzling to many people, including myself. Why are we, midway through the year and we just can't figure out our 5 best guys? But it sounds like, he threw injuries being a factor in there, which we knew about Jaden Roberts. That was definitely one. I'm sure maybe some other guys had some other things that were bumps and bruises that maybe impacted that. But in my opinion, it sounds like that's something that they're hoping to not have to deal with this season, right? It sounds like they want to hurry up and find those established guys. I know he's mentioned, Michael Carroll, Jackson Lloyd, and I would assume the center, Racing Delgatti, those guys being pretty much penciled in. So now it's almost kind of like, hey, who are the other 2 guys at left guard and right tackle now that Carroll has been kicked inside that can help us really establish this offensive line unit? The only thing I'll say is, man, the one biggest question I have is just knowing how important this unit is. Did we go out and do enough this offseason to have the best chance at having an improved unit? I mean, I made a video on the running game and why it should be better in 2026, and I do believe, like he mentioned, a lot of execution issues being at the helm. You get a new coach in Adrian Clem. Sounds like these guys are a little bit more receptive right now to kind of what they're learning. They're eager to learn. Makes sense. You got young guys paired up with a new coach that probably can connect really well with these guys. So that's positive. But I'm just very curious how this plays out, because when you're living in a world with the transfer portal and you have the ability to make immediate changes and go and get instant impact type players, and it's not just me saying this, Cole Kublik, other people that have played the game. Cole played the position. I mean, I think he knows pretty well. It's just when you look at the group currently, it's hard to say that you got better in terms of talent, but we all know that's not always going to just immediately give you better results. It should give you better results, but there's also a lot of other things that play a factor, like execution, right? Style, the skill set these guys have, and so forth. So, Reed, did you walk away from that answer any differently than you have from some of the other answers we talked about? I mean, it sounds like, they're optimistic with this group currently in terms of the competitiveness, these guys being eager to earn opportunities, but there clearly is still a lot of work that needs to be done. I mean, how optimistic are you that with the new faces and Adrian Clem now being in the fold, that this unit is, I don't want to say much improved, because I feel like that's putting very high expectations on a group that we might not have quite expectations. But how optimistic are you that this group will be improved in 2026?
Christian, honestly, I think there will be a leap. I don't think it's a huge leap, right? But I think it really comes down to what Coach Kalen DeBoer was saying, how it's the matter of fact of it's kind of like just mixing and matching, like you said, in that rotation, trying to, because right now we have a projected 5 that we think it is, right, Christian? But the matter of fact is, what if those 5, right, just naturally, maybe there's one in there that doesn't, fit well. Like he could be a better overall player, but in my opinion, I would want a 5 that they just fit well together. They run smoothly, right?
Yeah.
They're a smooth running offensive line. And so sometimes that's going to take time. And that's just we're going to see in East Carolina, Kentucky, and so on, just eventually until we get that starting 5. Then after that, as soon as the season progresses, then I want to see, progress, because you're getting more active live snaps together.
Yeah.
And so I think there will be a leap, but not like a huge one where we go from last season to extravagant.
The good news is knowing that this defensive line group, I mean, granted, we talked about this with Clint Lamb yesterday. I know a lot of people have high expectations for that unit. One thing we can say for certain is they have a lot of depth. They have a lot of guys that can play. Now, are they elite? We'll find that out here probably in a couple months, right? In a couple months' time. But knowing that they'll be going against a group that has some more experience, has a number of guys through their 2 and 3 deep, they'll be going against every single day in practice. I think it's going to be really good for this offensive line, because we saw that during the spring, and hopefully that continues forward during fall camp. We got to hit a timeout. When we come back, we continue breaking down Coach DeBoer's press conference from SEC Media Days. Plus, we'll hear some clips from the players as well. We'll keep on rolling on this Wednesday edition. Plus, we'll take your calls 205-342-9904 right here on the Miller's Edge. Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC.
And Mercedes-Benz of Tuscaloosa luxury.
All right, let's see. We got one from is it Jaravis? If I got that wrong, I apologize. I feel like it's a newer name. So welcome in. If we got any new listeners here, man, let us know where you're listening from, and yeah, welcome in. Welcome into the Miller's Edge. Is there anything to the offensive line sitting in their stances for 25 seconds pre-snap every time, getting heavy legs and bad get off? All the last second checks, hard to communicate. That's an interesting point, man. I mean, I'm sure it's probably not the most ideal if you're just kind of sitting there in your stance for that long. I mean, I'm thinking, as an edge guy, or let's say I was playing with my hand in the dirt, like for us defensively, we can kind of put a knee down. You know what I mean? Oh, Jaravis. So I got it right. Appreciate that. You can put a knee down while you're, like, say the offense is checking and stuff, defensive ends, you put your knee down briefly to kind of give yourself a second. But as an offensive lineman, I imagine that probably isn't the most comfortable. They can't really do that. Now, I've seen, they'll kind of maybe squat down for a second, but I don't know. So really good point. Next time we get an offensive lineman on here, well, I'll ask him that question. When you have that long of being in the stance, does that affect your ability to really come off and fire off the football? That's a good point. I would imagine it probably has a little bit of effect, but I don't know how much of an effect. I don't know. Probably not huge, but there's probably a little something there. But that's a good question. That's definitely a good question. Regardless, we got to have better physicality, better strength at the point of attack, get a little bit more movement, which that was an issue. It wasn't always the biggest issue. I mean, on the breakdown video, if you guys haven't seen that, go watch it. It's on our channel, the run game breakdown. A lot of times it's boiling down to execution, man. Guys not really knowing their whole assignment, guys being unsure. And it just, to me, I just don't understand. And I never played offensive line. I played defense, but my biggest thing as a football player, man, like you need to know and understand your assignment, right? Like before anything else, before we talk about everything, like you need to know and understand your assignment. And offensive line, I mean, the communication is key. And I just don't understand, was it because of the movement, all guys moving around? But you guys got to remember, if a guy is learning tackle, not only is he learning the fundamentals and everything that comes with that, but you also are learning from a positional standpoint what the tackle is responsible for. When you move a guy to guard, I mean, naturally, you're going to expect there to be some mistakes. I don't think people put enough thought into that, right? Like, that's a whole different position. So now this guy's responsibility is totally different. Now that's like double that he has to know. That's not easy. So I think that could have played a role. But I just think at the end of the day, man, if you're playing at a university like the University of Alabama program, we should be able to have somebody be able to coach that offensive line unit to execute at a much higher level than we saw last year. That is, to me, it's hard to explain. I feel like that's like a non-negotiable. You know what I mean? Like, this is University of Alabama. Like, if someone beats you, man on man, and they get the best of you, that's one thing. But to just see us constantly and consistently just like not executing, not knowing what we're doing. I'm talking about the offensive line specifically. I don't understand that. And hopefully a change of with the position coach there leads to better execution. But I'm also just thinking, I mean, you have a head coach who's offensive mind. You got an offensive coordinator who was a former offensive line coach. So you have all these offensive minds, and we just could not figure out the offensive line last year in terms of execution and getting those guys on the right page. I have so many more questions because of that. That doesn't make sense to me. If I'm just being honest, I'm not trying to be too critical. I don't understand that. But hopefully it's better this season. And welcome back into this Wednesday edition of the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC, discussing Alabama SEC Media Day. And this probably will carry on through the rest of the week, man. We got so much to cover. We got another phone call we got to hit. We were talking about this last question with the offensive line, and we'll keep on with that. But first, let's take a phone call, 205-342-9904. We got Smitty up next. Smitty, welcome in. Smitty, you with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
There you go. Sorry, I think it got muted for a second. Smitty, what's up?
Man, doing good, brother. How's everything with you?
Man, I can't complain, man. We got plenty of content to break down, so it's always a good day, man. It keeps me busy.
Yeah, because you don't have to talk about recruiting, so I know you're happy.
Listen, any day I can just listen. I don't mind it. I started to get into a little bit this summer. It was a little entertaining, but let's talk some football, man. And now we got plenty to talk about.
Yeah, I listened to some of the snippets, and there was a question I already asked in the chat. If you had a question, the question I would have asked was, you know what happened with Georgia at the end and Indiana at the end, right? We don't need to, talk about it again in that regard. But the question I would have asked was, were you and your team mad, or were you guys embarrassed and humiliated? Because there's a difference between being mad and embarrassed. And if you're embarrassed, after he come back from stuff. If he's just mad, I don't trust that. If you get what I'm saying right there with a mindset.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I feel like based off of what we've heard, I mean, they've definitely taken things personal. I would assume they've taken it personal. Now, it might not always seem like that when you hear from Coach DeBoer, but at the same time, I don't think he's just going to come out and just sound salty every time he's speaking on it. But hopefully you know what I mean? But hopefully behind the scenes, they take that stuff personal, and it's a mission of theirs to say, hey, we're tired of those performances because, number one, we're not meeting our own expectations. But number two, if I was them, I would be sick and tired of hearing people like me and all these other people running our mouths in front of a microphone. I would be sick and tired of hearing every time they talk about us, they're soft. They can't do this. They're not living up to. I mean, if anything, that would be so much motivation for me that I wouldn't need to hear anything else. I would have all that stuff bookmarked.
And you know what? Think about this. If I was talking to the team, I would say they're talking more about Indiana blowing you out than Indiana winning the freaking national title. That's what they talk about more. If you notice,
that's true.
It's like we think that's a national title game, and so that's some things like that. Yeah, I think things are handled behind closed doors, and I don't want anyone saying the disrespect will be tolerated this year. Just play the game. I don't want to hear that.
Right.
But the one thing is, I want fans to understand, like, with DeBoer, the quarterback, I'm glad Nature Boy Brandon Clear brought that up, That's his nickname for now, because he be fresh every show. But he's a great guest, so I got to give him his props.
He is.
Yeah, he's a great guest. And the thing is, there is a hard part right there with DeBoer with the quarterback because Austin Mack came with him and with all those years. That is hard. And that just shows you care about your players. Same way with Nick Saban or Jalen Hurts. You care about these guys. You know they worked hard. And if Keelan Russell is better, the players will know if the guy is better because you guys knew the guy was better because you was there with Jake Coker with the QB, right?
Yeah, I played with Coker 2 years.
All right. I'm going to be honest with this one. I didn't play the game at a level you did. I didn't coach. But I knew that man was better than Cooper Bateman. You guys did too. You know, so it's hard to fool the guys.
That was a very interesting battle. Now that was a very interesting battle. Shout out to both those guys, man. And I think we had Alec Morris that year still as well. I don't know if you guys remember Alec. I think he was from Texas. We had a number of different quarterbacks that were competing, and it was like Coker definitely felt like the better player, but there was something that I guess Lane and his staff saw in Bateman that they kept going back to him. But it did just kind of feel like, while Coker was still trying to establish himself as the guy, it just seemed like something, I don't know, they just gravitated towards Bateman a little bit until finally it was like after we lost to Ole Miss and Coker came in that game because Kim Dichie pretty much took Bateman's head off his shoulders after he threw a pick on a blindside block. Coker kind of like, that was when he really established himself, then he ran away with it. But yeah, that was a very interesting quarterback battle that we had on our hands. Somebody mentioned Cornwell in the chat. He was in my recruiting class. That spring, they had him running with the first team, one scrimmage, and then like the next week, and I don't even think he played that bad. He was like the fours. So, I mean, we were almost doing what the offensive line did last year at quarterback, and then to think we won the national championship. Here's the thing, though. I don't know if you heard Coach Saban mention this. What really helped us that year, get this, Smitty, is we had a damn good running game to depend on, a very good offensive line. Yep. We won the Joe Moore Award that year, and then a damn good defense. So really, like Coach Saban said on set, all we needed was a quarterback that could protect the football, operate the offense, and just not make too many mistakes. That was kind of the recipe for a while that we had. We were going to have incredible defenses that limited points. We were going to be physical. We were always going to have a great running game. And that would open up the passing game where these guys didn't have to be Dan Marino. The plays were going to be there. Just don't make mistakes. And that's just what worries me for this season is that, you have a younger team. You don't have a running game like that. Your defense should be good, but there's still some question marks up front. It's just they don't have those luxuries like we had. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because also a different era. And
right.
What Derrick Henry was so good, he got Ryan Tannehill paid on the Titans. All that man did was hand the ball. He did a great job of handing the ball off to Derrick Henry that year. But the thing is, this is where sometimes fans may keep forgetting this is a different era as well. Because offensive line play nationwide has taken a steep decline because of all the movement. Ohio State offensive line wasn't that good last year. Oregon wasn't that good last year. But you saw it happen when they ran up against teams that can exploit it. And Miami, their offensive linemen were there for multiple seasons. But they had a continuity. And I think that, and they took that loss early on because the ball's tenure there. And I think sometimes you just have to go that route. You got to be able to take those lumps to have your team grow. Same thing with Georgia's offensive line last year. It's like in college football, God forbid, young guys get better over the course of the season. That's the thing in college football that trips me out. It's like you can't get better. These guys are kids for the most part. And it's like you're going to improve. You may have to take your lumps. But this is where the game is now because we're not going to have Alex Leatherwood sitting on a bench behind Jonah Williams, sitting there a lot of cases. And Leatherwood came in and showed out in the national championship game. Najee Harris behind all those backs, ready to go. Right. That's just a different era regard. But my thing is, people keep talking about new faces on the offensive line. Maybe, just maybe, they want guys that can do their job, that can hit the second level. They may not hear that name called highly in the NFL draft, but maybe, hey, you can do your job, get to the second level, get around, pin and pull, like you said in your breakdown. How about you do your job, and we'll worry about the pros later. Because when that performance for that offensive line last year, I would take my chances with a new, inexperienced faces. Because as my late uncle would say, it can't get no worse. That's how he would say it. Just being real, you can't get worse. Even in the running game. that's why Caleb Boyd kept talking about execution. And people watch tape, like your breakdowns, you see execution, a lack of it at times. Because it doesn't matter if you call the best play. I'm not taking Ryan Grubb off the hook here, but you get what I'm about to say here. You can call the best play ever. You still got to execute it.
Right.
Everybody has to do their job. And I think with some of you guys, you saw it. They maybe didn't or wasn't physically able to, like Dewberry. He wasn't physically able to run that style of offense. And nor do we have the facts at the time who could turn lemons into lemonade. Because you were there when it had, like, fans keep showing that Bo Scarborough run against Washington in the playoffs. Bo was there at the right. He made something happen and scored a touchdown. We have to have that on that team because you have to build. There's a time the quarterback bail you out, the offensive line bail you out, your backs have to bail you out, make a play, or a receiver have to make a tough catch to bail you out sometimes because everything isn't going to be perfect. Everything isn't going to be a nice 75 degrees, and not a cloud in the sky.
No, you're right. Well, but see, this is my thing, Smitty. The problem is the running back room is pretty much the same guys we had last year, except you add, two freshmen that definitely have a lot of potential, but they're young. That's the thing. It's like Alabama has pieces, but it's like they're not like, how do I explain this? It's like you add some guys, like in your words, that can make take lemons and make lemonade. I agree with you. We need more guys that can create. We didn't really have that. However, it's like, okay, we added it, but they're really young. You know what I'm saying? It's like, that's why a guy like Hollywood Smothers would have been great to throw in the mix. That's why a guy like Peak or somebody out of the portal, we're talking about, hey, we need an offensive line that can execute at a high rate, that we know we're going to be able to get a good push. A guy like Peak and one of these older veteran offensive linemen that I know you bring in Javen James, and I think he definitely can help. But when I watch his tape compared to some of these other guys, he still has some stuff that he needs to improve on. I can't. He's one of the veteran guys who brought him via the portal, but he's still one of the few guys that we have penciled in right now on the offensive line. Or even like Racing Delgado, it's like, man, he's scrappy. I think he fits what we want to do. But he came from a smaller program. And not saying he can't adjust, but there is going to be an adjustment period, and hopefully he can kind of get over that hurdle. It just feels like there's like a lot of these little buts with a lot of the answers that we have for 2026. It's not saying they won't be good answers, but instead of you feeling like completely confident in them, it's like a cautiously optimistic approach. But no, you're definitely right with what you're saying. It's just hopefully we get the better end of it, and those things end up. We have young backs, but they're able to give us that spark and that creation that we didn't have, even though they're young. We have more offensive linemen, even though they're young. They might not have been as highly, I guess, covered coming out of the portal or whatever the case, or the guys we brought in via high school. But hopefully they're able to get over those growing pains quicker and end up being better than what we saw last year. It's just there's a lot riding on a number of factors, if I say it like that. Yeah, I feel you on that. And I think in today's college football, everybody has question marks. A lot of times we don't know. Like everybody sets on an Ole Miss. But there's a difference between being an interim coach then the program is your baby now. Right. Because we've seen interim coaches get hot. And that team at Trinidad Travelers is awesome. But this is year 2 now, and it's like the same team as last year. Georgia lost a lot. Texas A&M lost a lot on offensive line, and they're playing a tougher schedule. Texas may have brought a lot of people in, but how they come together. And I always say, love your girl the same way the media loves Archman. This dude gets graded on a curve, but I don't know why. I think he's good, but I don't think he's turning water into wine. And like LSU, there's a lot of guys coming in. And the quarterback has a Liz Frank injury. So I just think everybody has question marks. And last year's teams are not this year's teams because these predictions are a lot of guessing. But hey, Christian, you have a good one, good brother. Yes, sir. You too, Smitty. Always good to talk with you, man. All right, we got to hit this timeout here when we come back. We'll go back to the phone lines. We'll just keep on rolling. We got Matt, and we got Jarvis, and we'll see what they have to say regarding Alabama SEC Media Days right here on the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230, WTBC. All right, let's see what the chat's saying. Let me play this. I'll play this during the break since we got some phone calls. Well, I know that was about the freshman. I'll save that part and go back.
And moments you go through.
I'll turn it down so I can talk.
Made us stronger as a football in the face. Week 1, it's a home game for us. We got to protect our own home turf there, and that goes for every game, not just that one. But it's one that just did put us in a tough spot. I thought our guys did a great job responding last year to the adversity that hit them pretty much smack in the face week 1, responding with winning 10 of the next 11. And so, there's lessons and things and moments you go through. And I think that moment actually made us stronger as a football program and as a football team for sure for the 2025 season, and something that we need to make sure we take and learn from going into the next couple months here as we get into 2026.
Coach, we'll go in the section right in front of me, 2 rows. Kirk.
Kirk Bowles from the Houston Chronicle. Kalen, you mentioned the running game. You clearly didn't run the ball well last year. Neither did Texas and Oklahoma, historically, running back rich programs. Is that a continuing trend, do you think, in college football that just kind of is a trickle down from the NFL or rules changes? And do you think that's going to continue?
No, because I think we've had success running the football with the rules, though, and not much has changed since then. I think we just got to do a better job. I think our league and our schedule last year, we had some very good run defenses, very good defenses in general that we faced, especially in the latter half of the season. And so you still got to find ways to get the job done. And
I agree with them. You got to find ways, and that's on them. On the staff, they've got to find more solutions this time around. Because I know he mentioned they play good defense, good run defenses, but here's the thing: that's not going to change this year, right? You're going to face those same good run defenses again. You got Georgia, LSU's probably going to be a good run defense you got to play. The list's going to go on, right? When you play in the SEC, you kind of expect that. So hopefully they can come up with some more solutions this time around. QD says Christian Bama could not afford Peak and some others. Peak didn't even get a chance to visit after South Carolina dropped the bag. No. I get it. I'm just saying. Not even. I just use Peak because that was somebody we had on our radar. It was like the guy that Landon Tangwall was covering that ended up transferring from Wake Forest to wherever it was. He went to Texas, and I joked about it. And like once Texas got involved, we didn't really have a chance. But I was just like, man, there's other offensive linemen in the portal. People make it seem like Peak and Seaton were like the only guys there. There were other players available, and granted, I don't know every single one. I didn't cover all of them. I'm just saying, the guys we ended up pulling in. There is like a TBD on pretty much everybody. There's nobody we really pulled in that you just automatically go, hey, this guy is a guarantee. He's guaranteed that he's going to improve this offensive line unit, right? I can't say that about Javen James. I can't really say that about Racing Delgado because Parker Brailsford was a good player at center last year. The hope is he can provide what we got out of Brailsford, in my opinion. I think Jordan Rogers was kind of talking about that a little bit too. Like, we got good players out of the portal that I think are going to be solid contributors and going to help this football team, but did we get better at a whole bunch of spots? Personally, I don't think so. I think we might have got guys that can give us kind of what we had last year, which those guys led us to the college football playoff. So that's fine. But you get my point there. We'll just have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see. But you're right. The whole money aspect, that's a whole deal of its own. And welcome back into this Wednesday edition of the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. Let's keep on rolling on the phone lines. We got Matt up next. Matt, welcome in.
Hey, what's going on, man?
Hey, what's up, Matt?
Oh man, just wanted to chime in on the offensive line. I think this didn't take me but 2 minutes I just Googled out of curiosity. In 2022, when Coach Cap was at Michigan State, the running game, they got 3.8 yards per carry. same as Alabama was getting under his leadership. Adrian Flynn, the same year in 2022 at Oregon got 6.1 yards per carry. When you look at the other guy, Richard Owens, he was the offensive line coach, and he'll have some input on the offensive line. He has to when you're coaching the tight ends, right? So at Louisville, last year Miami had one of the best defensive lines in the country. With Reuben Bain, and Louisville got 5.5 yards a carry against Miami. So I think just the change to the coaching staff. I don't even know why we hired the Cap from Michigan State, who never really has been a good offensive line coach. So just the change in the coaching staff alone, there's no way we're not going to have drastic improvement on the offensive line and opening up running lanes.
Yeah, no, I'm hesitant on saying drastic, but if I made a breakdown video, it's on our YouTube channel where I went into detail watching tape and showing people really even just small differences in execution, right? Just executing better would have made a pretty significant difference. Now, I'm not saying it would have changed the average as a whole, but I don't know. But I can tell you a lot of the negative plays that we had wouldn't have happened just by small execution errors that kept showing up consistently on tape. But I'm with you. And that was one of my keys. I had like 3 keys on why I think the running game will improve in 2026. Again, not saying it's going to be some crazy improvement, but I think it at least improves. And that was one of them that I believe hiring Clem and Owens, because I also mentioned the execution out of the tight ends in the running game was very poor last year. If you haven't seen that video, I urge you, go to our YouTube channel at the Miller's Edge and just look up the running game breakdown. Yeah, and I talk about those things because I'm with you. I think those two gentlemen that you mentioned, I think they'll make a difference. Now, I wish they had I wish I could say the personnel that they have to work with, I feel even stronger about, but I know they've got some young guys that are going to require development. So that's the only reason I'm a little bit more cautiously optimistic. If you told me we would have a more experienced group to work with and you hire those guys, I would tell you, hey, man, I'm extremely confident it's going to look a lot better. But just knowing just the personnel we're working with and how young they are, I do think it's going to be some growing pains still, and there's going to be some hurdles to get over. But I'm with you. I think both those guys, they have a mentality. At least this is kind of how it seems to me from the outside looking in. Haven't really talked with them personally, but they have a mentality to them that I think is a lot better. And it's funny you mentioned the whole Cap thing. No disrespect to him, but my dad was giving us a hard time when we hired Coach Cap, and a lot of people were mad about that. But funny enough, he ended up being right, kind of that it probably wasn't the best hire. But I think we were a little crunched on time, unfortunately, and they ended up having to kind of fall back on that. Remember, the offensive line coach from Washington, he went on to the Seahawks, so they kind of had to have a last-minute change at that position.
Yeah, I don't think we'll get 6 yards a carry, but to go from 3.5 to 5, I would say that's a significant improvement. I think, and that'll also open up the passing game, and it'll also be better for our defense. Our defense got worn down in the Indiana game because our offense couldn't stay on the field.
That's a good point.
So we lost morale, So just the improvement to the offensive line is going to make the whole team better. And I think, as a fan, we were traumatized from last year just watching watching ourselves get slaughtered by Georgia and Indiana. But we got to remember this is a brand new year, brand new coaches, new offensive line. We can start fresh. We don't have to be wounded by the past and think that it's going to be the same this year. It's not.
Yeah. Well, for me, it's not wounded for me. It's just, and this is just my opinion. This is just how I view it. I mean, anybody with 2 eyes could tell you that our offensive line play and our running game were glaring issues, and probably the biggest issues, not just offensively, but for the whole team, just like you alluded to, Matt. But my thing was this offseason, I just keep going back to it. And I get it. The portal is a beast of its own. Money is a big factor. It's just for me, if all I'm saying is I think if we would have made that like the biggest priority of the offseason, I think that would have made me feel a little bit better. It just felt like in terms of the players we were bringing in, we were okay knowing how big of an issue offensive line and run game was, bringing in developmental type players via the portal. And I get it. There's a lot of other factors involved. That's just one of my, if I had to have a criticism from this offseason, for me, it's just like I would have loved for us to be able to find a way to really go and get guys, because I like Jackson Lloyd and Michael Carroll for sure, and just find maybe one, even two more guys that you can just really just hang your hat on and say, hey, I know what we're going to get from these guys in the offensive line, because if we can guarantee that spot is better, like you mentioned, everything else will be better. But instead, I feel like we kind of took a little bit more of a conservative approach, which to me is a little risky, knowing how much we're riding on that offensive line. And like Coach DeBoer mentioned, I mean, he said earlier today, like they have a long way to go with the offensive line group. So while I think it can get better, they've got a lot of work to do, and hopefully they can do that this offseason.
All right, man. Well, I think we're going to make a national championship run this year, and I think everybody's sleeping on Alabama. I think we're going to be a lot better than we think. So,
I definitely hope so, man. I appreciate the phone call, man. Good stuff.
All right, man. Have a good one.
Yes, sir. You too. Hey, why do you sound so deflated, man? I didn't mean to hurt his feelings, Reed. Listen, I mean, guys, I don't. If me talking like that hurts y'all's feelings, I apologize. I'm just giving y'all an honest football opinion. I get it. Like people think, like, oh, we're Alabama fans, we shouldn't speak like that. Listen, I'm a former player, but my job in the media is just to talk football. So I mean, good, bad, or ugly.
I was gonna say I don't know if that's necessarily the case, because usually when I'm on the phone, right, like my tone from like real energetic and kind of like extravagant kind of tones down when I'm like about to end the call. So I'll go from real high up, and then I'm like, all right, Christian, I'll see you later.
Okay, maybe I was like, dang it. I thought I was like, I didn't mean to let him down on that one. I mean, listen. This is my opinion, and hopefully hopefully Matt's right. Hopefully Matt's more on the money when it comes to it. But I just think we have a lot of stuff we got to overcome first before we start talking about national championship runs and all that. It's a lot of question marks, but as we get going, right, we'll know a little bit more about this football team and what they ultimately can be in 2026. But first, we got to hit a timeout. We come back, go back to the phone lines, keep on rolling right here on the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230, WTBC.
Listen.
Yeah, maybe Reed's right, man. Hopefully, I didn't mean to let Matt down like that, man. Hey, we got so many clips to discuss. We'll just save it for tomorrow. We'll save it for tomorrow, guys, because we got another phone call and we don't have a whole bunch of time. But let's see. Just tells you they don't really believe it's necessary core principles. Yeah, I'm not saying they didn't try. Hopefully that makes sense with what I'm saying. I guess it just would be like if, say, you had a major issue at pass rush. Say your pass rush was like dead last in the country. The equivalent to me would be like you bringing in some guys in the D line, but like there's some like edge guys out there that they've been like 6+ sack players, but you end up bringing in some depth guys that haven't really played a bunch. Then the one or two guys that you do bring in with experience is like a 1.5 sack type guy. You know what I'm saying? So like that's kind of how I view the situation with the offensive line, if that makes sense. Not saying those guys that you brought in to I guess bolster the pass rush couldn't make a bigger difference than expected. It's just I think people would probably have a lot more confidence going into it, saying, hey, we struggle with pass rush. We just brought in some edge guys that there's some dudes. We know what we're getting out of them. You know what I mean? So Mario says, can you include Will Sanders in that group? Yeah, I like Will Sanders. And I think he can definitely. I think he has starting potential. I mean, he started some games or played significant snaps last year. But I think what happens, when you only, like, for example, like, I mean, I cover majority just Alabama for the most part. I look at other SEC teams, but not nearly as much as I do Alabama. But specifically more so for like fans of a program, like they're going to hold their players in a regard that nationally other people aren't going to see the same thing. So what I'm trying to get at is, like, we say these names and it sounds like, oh, he can be this guy, he can be this guy. But the way I view it, and probably the way other people like in the national media view it, is like, okay, yeah, he can be a guy that can play SEC snaps. He can start for you. He can be a good player. But how does that stack up with the rest of the country? How does that stack up with like the other top players? Like, I think Will Sanders is a good football player, and I think he can be a solid contributor. Do I view him as somebody with like day one, day two type upside? Honestly, right now, no, I don't. So you see what I'm saying? Like, it's one of those things. Or even like when we talk about the guys on our defensive line, like we have good depth. We have guys that have a lot of potential. How many of those guys have like day one type potential? Really just depends. It's kind of hard to say right now. The point I'm trying to make is I think there's just like different levels to it. And it's easier to fall into since we know these guys by name and we've seen them so much more than other guys, you forget that there's you got a whole conference full of other teams, like Texas, like Georgia, like LSU, that have really good talent as well. And in my mind, it's like, how do our guys stack up to the likes of those guys? Does that make sense? And just personally, like, I can't say there's a bunch of guys that we're talking about right now on our roster that I'm like, hey, I feel like they're that much better than a lot of these other guys that I see nationally. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like they're good players, but I don't know how many dudes are like elite players. I don't mean to sound harsh, just being honest. And welcome back into this Wednesday edition of the Miller's Edge. Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. Back to the phone lines, 205-342-9904. We got Jarvis up next. Jarvis, welcome in.
How's it going, Kristen?
It's going well, man. How's everything?
Everything going pretty good today. How's yours going?
Can't complain. Busy day, man, but that's always a good sign over here, man. So I'm blessed, brother.
I totally agree with you. I'm blessed as well.
Amen.
I just
Talk
want
to me.
Call in. I just want to call in and speak to my Alabama fans again and let them know everything is going to be okay. I think we were projected we're heading in the right direction. As far as media day, you know how that goes. The coach, they can give a little information, but sometimes a little information is good. Sometimes it's good that we don't know as much as we need to know, because sometimes we can make speculations. We can give that wrong information out to our friends and whoever we're talking to, especially online. So it's good that the coaches keep everything in house. You being a former player, sometimes it's good for coaches to keep everything in house until they sort out everything. But as far as moving forward, I believe in DeBoer, and I believe that we're heading in the right direction.
Yeah, so it sounds like you walked away pretty pleased with everything you heard from media day. Anything stand out to you? Anything that coach said, or any of these players that they mentioned, or even any of these other panelists or analysts that have been there? There's been a lot of talk about Alabama from the national side. There's been a lot of opinions, but Alabama was on deck today. They went this morning. Anything that stood out to you?
Not too. I don't take, me personally, Christian, I don't take a lot from the media day. I just take what they say and move forward, because like I stated, you can only guess on what is really going on. Coach can update you on injuries, as far as, hey, we're going to put this person at the O-line, or who's the center, what is center, the experience on the O-line or D-line. we can go all day, as far as when it comes to media day. You wouldn't necessarily know a whole lot, so you can't take away from from the media day, especially a lot of information, because the coach is not going to give out a whole lot. So everybody want to talk about Alabama. We still the talk of the town. Ain't that crazy? After Nick Saban left, everybody's still talking about us, whether it's good or bad. So hey, let them talk. But I know one thing: we're gonna come play this season. We're gonna come play, and I believe in my Roll Tide. I just want my fans to take it easy. Okay, we didn't get a lot of recruiters. I mean, a lot of not recruiters, but a lot of talent. That people suggested that hey, we got 3-star players. Why we're not getting 5-star? Don't worry about that. We're in the developmental stage of things. We want to develop players because I can tell you we have the right coach. When this coach was at Washington, I understand he was on the West Coast, but he proved himself that he are able to develop players. Even when he was up in the North, the Big Ten area, So I say that hey, we got a good coach, we got a good staff. We still trying to figure out hey, which coaches we want to keep and which coaches is going to develop our players. They can't develop our players. We want to get someone that can develop them. So, but I think we're headed in the right direction. So that's how I look at it.
Yeah, no, I mean that's fair. I think the biggest thing is question marks, right? And every team has them, but right now people are just curious. And with there being some of those, listen, I always say this. I think that the inconsistencies from last year that drives more uncertainty, and people just want to have answers. And unfortunately, we're not going to have those until the season comes. So until then, we're just going to keep talking about it. But I'm with you. I mean, I think direction wise, I think we're in a good spot. It's just when you have the expectations that Alabama has, I mean, there's always going to be noise, whether it's internal or external. And I think this staff is probably doing a pretty good job of just trying to focus on the main thing, and that's just building the football team necessary to go out there and compete. And they made progress from year 1 to year 2, and hopefully they can try to do that in year 3. Right now, it looks like there's going to be some more challenges than there might have been the previous year. But like I said, you just never know. Things can come together, and just kind of have to watch it play out. Anything else you got for us, Jarvis, before we get out of here?
Hey, Kristen, did you go check out O'Neal?
What is it?
O'Neal. You get a chance to check him out. The cornerback.
Carmel. I haven't had a chance. I'll be honest. I haven't had a chance. I will. I promise. I'll go do that as soon as we make it through some of this media day stuff. I'll make sure I got it on my schedule. I'm gonna pull it up. I'm gonna watch the tape. But we'll definitely talk about it because maybe I'll just add it into the part 2 of the secondary breakdown we're doing because I got to do that anyway.
Okay. Because the highlights shows one thing, but when you go and watch the actual full game, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. When he played press or man to man, man, the kid, when it comes to change of direction and his hips, man, the kid, man, I would like for him to, man, I would like for him to start. Me being honest, but that's just me. I just saw the way he changed of direction when he playing man to man. He can play zone and he can play man to man.
Well, that's always good to have. We talked a lot about that earlier on the show, man, having guys that can do both. That way you have a little bit more balance to your defense and kind of what you're calling. Jarvis, we appreciate the call, man. We're about to wrap things up, but great stuff as always, man.
Always, Christian. Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, brother. We appreciate you. That'll do it before we get out of here. Got to remind you about our friends over at Lamprello Law, education and advocacy for all your representation needs, whether it's criminal defense matters, academic misconduct, NIL. They've got you covered, and not only do they do it in a first-class manner, they do it for affordable prices. Check them out, lamprello-law.com. You can schedule yourself a free consultation, plus find out more information about the other services like academic and career planning for high school, college, and graduate students, exam and test taking preparation, so much more right there at Lamprello Law, education, advocacy, the official representation right here on the Miller's Edge. That'll do it for us on this Wednesday edition. Tomorrow we will be joined by Adam, so you can hear from him yourself. And plus we'll continue breaking down SEC Media Days, everything that we've got from it right here on the Miller's Edge. Tide 100.9, 1230, WTBC. All right, let me hit some of these chats real quick. Reed, I appreciate you, brother. Good stuff, man. I don't think some of you guys like what I was talking about with the portal stuff. Let me see. I think Melissa she went to all caps mode. What was it? Why did it just jump all the way up there? Hold on, let me see. I don't know why I can't find it. It was in all caps. There it goes. How many Indiana players went day one or will go day one? It's about coaching, which meant coaching there. Coaching definitely is a big factor. But let me ask you this though: if you're right, coaching is a big deal, and I guess you're saying since we made changes on the staff, that's the biggest thing that matters. I get where you're going with that, and that was why in my breakdown video when I talked about the run game, that was one of the was it number 1 or number 2 on my list of things that I believe will improve this running game. I'm with you. And I was the first one to say we got out-coached last year in several games. SEC championship game, we got out-coached. In the Indiana game, we got out-coached. Those are facts. You can ask anybody. That's not just me. So I'm with you on that. But the point that I'm making is, how do I explain this? I feel like it's pretty straightforward. If you have an issue with your football team that you know needs to be better, yes, coaching makes a big difference. But the coaches at the same time are not the ones that are going to go out there and block and protect and run. Like Richard Owens, he played tight end in the NFL. Coach Clem played offensive line in the NFL. But guess what? They're not suiting up. So their instruction, their leadership, their ability to instill the core principles and values necessary, right, to go out there and play at a high level, that is big and it will play a big role. But at the end of the day, you still need the Jimmies and Joes. Coach Saban will tell you, him being the best coach to ever coach college football, if he didn't have good football players, he probably wouldn't, not even probably, he would not have had the success that he had. That's not me trying to sound like a cocky player. He said it. Those are his words himself. So, two things are true. I'm with you that coaching is a big deal, and I think it's a big factor. My point when I make these comments about like the players we have, all I'm saying is I think people have to remind themselves, like for you guys that are Alabama fans and really only keep up with Alabama, you're going to hold players in a much higher regard than probably the rest of the country, the scouts, the NFL coaches, the personnel that's like that cover these guys. Like it's going to be a little bit different. They're not going to view these players the same as you guys probably view them from y'all's perspective. Hell, even mine sometimes. But what I do is I take my emotion out of it. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, because I'm covering it. I don't view it from the lens of, hey, I'm, just hoping Alabama is the best because I want them to win. Like, I try to view it just from an objective lens and take the emotion out of it and just cover it like, hey, who are these guys as football players? I know a lot of these guys. Like, I know a lot of the guys on the team. They're great guys, great young men, but I'm just talking about from a football perspective. When I cut on the tape, when I go to practice, when I'm watching these guys, what do they excel at? What are they good at? What are their limitations? What are some things that they struggle with? That's how I'm speaking right now. I mean, I love everybody goes to Indiana as an example, and I totally get what you're saying, but understand they've got good players. Just because you guys haven't heard about them or I didn't hear a whole bunch about them doesn't mean they're not good players. They might have played at JMU, but they are good football players. I mean, their quarterback was the number 1 overall player drafted and the Heisman Trophy winner, right? Their cornerback, who was shutting shit down this past season, Pons, he's undersized, but he's a really good football player. Their linebackers play some good football. They got some good guys up front that aren't like big. I get it. I mentioned day one talent. I'm just saying compared to like some of these other rosters that we're going to face, like there's going to be some talent that we play, you know what I mean, where they got some dudes. You just gotta take all this stuff into consideration. That's all. Bama coaches are just collecting checks. Okay, how do you evaluate those Indiana players? No names. I'm with you. That's why I'm here on your channel. Wait, whoa. I didn't say they're just collecting checks. I didn't say that. Hold on, wait. I didn't say it like that. How do you evaluate those Indiana players? Are you asking like me specifically, like how I go about it, or are you saying Like, what are my thoughts on them? I mean, I've watched that Indiana game like probably 4 times now. I mean, I can tell you, number one, we got out schemed. I mean, that's just a fact. But two, I mean, they had some good receivers. Was Omar Cooper, good player. Charlie, I forgot his name. He's returning. He's going to be one of the better receivers in college football. We talked about Mendoza. They brought him over from Cal. They had some good offensive linemen on that unit. Like, I think, you know, with them, it's tricky because a lot of those guys came from JMU, and not many people had them on their radar. But I think they're a lot better than people probably gave them credit for initially. And even if you want to put a lot of that on the development from that coaching staff, you know what I mean? Like, that's why, like, when that whole situation happened with the defensive coordinator and he took offense to what Ty said, I understood how he could have taken that. I get it. I know Alabama fans thought he was just being soft, but I'm like, to be fair, you know, if it's your defense coordinator, it's your defense, and someone's kind of saying like, "Oh, we knew what they were going to do," and almost implying, and it wasn't Ty intentionally doing it, but almost implying like it wasn't anything difficult. It was, you know, pretty standard, this and that. When I'm watching it, and I'm like, I'm a defensive guy. I'll be the first one to tell you, I thought I liked the way they played defense. Now, they don't do a whole bunch of different stuff, but they get to it a number of different ways. But really, I mean, that's all you really have to do when you got guys that execute at a high rate. If anything, we should probably jot down some notes, at least from the offensive side. I thought we did so much offensively that we didn't execute at a high level because we were doing so many different things. So, but no, I don't think we're just collecting checks, but I think, you know, there's things that our staff could do better, if I'm just being honest, to help our guys out, like offensively. You know what I mean? Like, I've mentioned this, like with Ryan Williams. I mean, he without a doubt, he's arguably one of the best players on that offense. Like, I don't think it makes a whole bunch of sense to kind of completely take him out of a game plan, which we saw that last year. I don't think that helped him, which in turn doesn't help the offense. You know, going away from the running game and not really even trying to commit to it. It just like there's certain things that our staff can probably do to help our guys out. But I wouldn't say they're just collecting checks. I mean, they do a good job. We have a good staff. They just had to clean some things up. Let's see. Any other questions you guys want me to hit before we get out of here? Watch a lot of other teams, the podcast talking about other teams. That's good. Yeah, well, definitely. I would recommend like watching other teams. You know what I mean? Like, I know you said you watch a lot of other teams, which is good. But you'll know what I mean when I say that. Like, for example, I mean, like you look at no, it just depends. I mean, well, it just, we can talk about this all day. You the man, see, man. I appreciate it, Dan. Appreciate that, man. Appreciate you guys hanging out. If you guys haven't hit that like button, we appreciate that. I mean, should we just keep rolling? Should we keep listening to this? I mean, I guess I got a few more minutes if you guys want to hang around here a little bit longer. Or have any more questions to ask? Trying to scroll back up and see ones that I might have missed. Depth is good, but who's going to be great? Yeah, that's a very good question. That's kind of what well, everybody's trying to figure out right now, right? I mean, even coaches are. They're trying to figure out who are going to be those guys for their football teams. Good news is we have good depth on the D line, but I think we have guys that have the potential to blossom into really good players. I mean, I think Steve Boomwall has a whole bunch of potential to him. How much of an impact does he make this year? I don't know. I think the following year he could end up being a damn good player. Just a little bit more experience under his belt, but he's got some tools, man, that are special. I think Devin Tompkins is going to be a really good football player. I think People are optimistic about Terrence Green. London Simmons, I like a lot. I mean, I think our D-line has a chance to be really good, which is going to be huge. And I think our linebacker play has a chance to be solid too. I mean, it could even take a step up. That's what I mean by sometimes like we get so caught up on like names. Like I don't want to like single anybody specifically out. I hate doing that, but like I'll give you an example. Like sometimes you'll have names on your team that because guys have been around a while or they're a popular name amongst the fan base, people hold them in a regard as if like, well, we have this guy, we have this guy. But in reality, when you turn on the tape, the film does not match up with the buzz. Does that make sense? Maybe that's a better point I'm trying to make. So that's what I was saying. I wasn't trying to knock any of our guys or say like, oh, we don't have when I mentioned like the day one stuff, I just meant like sometimes you'll hear a lot of noise about certain players. And then within the fan base, oh man, within the fan base, they view these players to a certain regard because of what they hear and just all the noise being created in a positive way. But then when you turn on the tape, it doesn't align. So that was like the point I was making. And it can go vice versa. There's going to be other teams that have guys that you don't really hear about. There's not a whole bunch of buzz about them, but when you turn on the tape, you're like, damn, they got some dudes. That was the whole deal I was trying to make earlier. And then sometimes they're just clear day one guys. And like somebody mentioned, I think they're saying like, well, day one doesn't always mean like that's the best college football player. Here's another example. People talk very highly about Bray Hubbard because he's a damn good football player. And he really is one of the best guys on our team. Does that mean because of the numbers he puts up and the success he's had in college, does that mean he's going to be a day one NFL draft pick? Not necessarily, because there's just a number of other things that go into it. So, yeah, it kind of all depends. Yeah, like somebody like Ryan, I mean, he's just kind of got that upside to him where he's probably going to be a high draft pick regardless of now if he has another year where he struggles, I mean, it's definitely going to take a hit. But speaking of the Brian, I heard he just got married over the summer. Congrats to him, man. He's young. I think he's only like 19. So yeah, but no, Bray's solid. I'm not saying he can be. Bray could end up being drafted a lot higher than some people think, but it's just, when it comes to the draft, I mean, there's a lot of other factors than just the numbers you put up. So, but anyway, I'm gonna get out of here. I'm not gonna lie, I feel like I've been running in circles. Media day, it comes a lot, so we got plenty to talk about. We'll talk about so much more tomorrow because we didn't have enough time to do it today. But appreciate you guys hanging out with us last couple hours, and football season's pretty much here. I'm excited about that. We'll keep diving into it. We'll keep doing some more breakdown stuff. I'll make sure I get those videos put out. And we'll keep on rolling from here. Hit that like button if you haven't already on your way out. Subscribe, all that good stuff. You guys know the drill. And we look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. Melissa, Trevor, Keith, Dan, Mario, all of you guys that are still hanging out in here. Money. I know there's a bunch more, but I'm just looking at the chat. Appreciate you guys. And we look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow.